It's hard to believe that it's been nearly 30 years since we first saw the iconic Z3 nameplate introduced in America all the way back in 1996. Now, since the mid-90s, car buyers' tastes have changed drastically, which is one of the reasons why convertible drop-top sports cars like this are a dying breed, which is why the vehicle that we're standing by today is a truly special vehicle, at least in my heart, because this right here is the 2023 BMW Z4. As you guys know, this generation Z4, the third gen, was introduced back in 2019, and because it's been a few years, BMW is giving the Z4 a small round of updates. They are calling this an LCI vehicle, which means it's got a life cycle change. And in this video, we're going to live with this Z4 M40i. We're going to put it through our usual battery test. And at the end of this review, we're going to find out, for those of you who are actually in the market for a convertible drop-top sports car that's brand new, does the BMW Z4 still represent one of the best vehicles in the segment? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the styling of the BMW Z4, let me go ahead and pop the very long hood, because one of the main reasons why the Z4 is special is because BMW continues to offer this with a choice of two internal combustion engines. Now, if you guys are familiar with BMW motors, you'll find these engines very, very familiar, because it starts, of course, as a Z4 30i, which has a 2-liter turbo direct injection 4-cylinder making 255 horsepower. That motor is going to be fine for the majority of people, but for you enthusiasts out there, you're going to want this engine, because this is the same motor, of course, that's in its platform mate, the Toyota Supra. Technically, the Supra offers the 4-cylinder too, but this is the motor you're going to want. It's a 3-liter B58 twin power single turbo inline 6 with double overhead cans, direct injection, variable valve timing. It makes the same 382 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Remember, these are German horses, so it's most likely underrated, and you could easily do a tune on this vehicle to have it produce well over 450 plus horsepower. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission, and this engine lacks the mild hybrid assist that you're going to find in something like the 3 Series or the X5 or X7, so it does help to reduce the weight slightly. BMW claims fuel economy is 23 in the city, 31 on the highway, which is actually pretty good considering this is a nearly 400 horsepower inline 6 that's rear-wheel drive, and it's paired up with a sports car. And performance is going to be impressive. 0 to 60, BMW claims, is 3.9 seconds. It'll reach a top speed of 155 miles an hour, and as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 3,500 pounds. It's about 100 pounds lighter than the previous generation Z4 and 100 pounds heavier versus the GR Supra, which, remember, shares a platform with this vehicle. Think of the Supra as the coupe, while this one is the drop top. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling, which got a very, very mild refresh this year. In fact, I have trouble even distinguishing the refresh from the pre-refreshed model. BMW does call this an LCI. Now, you can see my tester is a matte gray called Frozen Gray Metallic. It's around a $3,600 upcharge. My tester also has the Shadow Line package, which blacks out all the chrome on the grille, on the side mirrors. You can see this frozen gray paint here in this bright sunlight looks beautiful. It's got this metallic fleck on it. I will say that this frozen gray paint, you can never take it through a car wash. It'll scratch the hell out of it if you do, so don't do it. But it also hides the dirt really well. Now, I also have the 50-year M emblem package here. This is kind of a Heritage M package, which is only available, of course, for 2023. You can see the big twin kidney grills aren't massive, but they are tasteful. I like how low and wide the vehicle is. And then all of these Z4s will come with BMW's full LED headlights with adaptive technology. You have LED low and high beams, LED daytime running light and turn signals. And then down here you can see no fog lights, but you do have some functional vents that allow for cooling. There are some active grille shutters there in the grille that help with the aerodynamics. And I also love the sculpted look of the grille. Now, compared to the Supra, this car is actually slightly wider by a ½ inch and also slightly taller. Its overall length at 170.7 inches long is 4 inches longer than the previous generation Z4, but this is still 2 inches shorter than the Supra. Its wheelbase is around 97 inches long. That's actually an inch shorter than the previous generation, but remember, this is built on a new cluster architecture, the one that it shares with a lot of other modern BMWs. Now, looking at the wheels, my tester has a 19-inch kind of satin twin-spoke design alloy wheel. You can also get a black finish alloy wheel if you'd like as well. You can see the brakes. Those are the big M Sport carbon brakes, or M Sport brakes with blue painted calipers, which are nice. And then you can see here we have Continental tires as well. So these are summer tires. The rotors themselves measure a little over 13 inches. You can see with the blue painted brakes, it certainly looks great, although I personally would go with the red painted brakes myself, which again are a no charge option. Now this vehicle does have an all new suspension, multi-link in the back. You also have adaptive dampers. There are some functional openings here that helped create cooling and an air curtain to help with the aerodynamics. And then with the Shadowline package, you can see my tester has black painted side mirrors with integrated turn signals. Those are going to be a metallic look. If you guys don't get the Shadowline package, you can see the matte finish paint looks great along the rest of the vehicle. And then with the top down, you can see it really gives you that open air experience. You can also have the windows up, which help reduce the wind buffeting. You can see the doors, when they lock and unlock, you can set the mirrors to electrically full. This right here is the soft top. This is just the black soft top. BMW will also offer like a light gray or darker gray graphite soft top. And then you can see you can also get these roll hoops painted in silver or black, like my tester here. This top goes up and down in about 10 seconds, and you can do it at up to 30 miles an hour. So it's nice that BMW went back to a soft top. Now moving over to the rear of the vehicle, you can see the design is also equally interesting. I love how low and wide it looks. You can see it doesn't look at all like a Supra. It has its own unique design elements. You can see there's kind of like this L-shaped full LED taillight design. The badges also kind of have like this bronze look to them, or not bronze, but it's kind of like a dark chrome look to them with that heritage BMW badge. The rear bumper diffuser also is slightly more aggressive. This model comes standard, of course, as an M Sport. That's what the M40 badge stands for. And you can see you'll be able to distinguish this as the M40i, not just from the badge, but from the rectangular exhaust tips. There's dual exhaust tips, and this exhaust sounds glorious. So let me go ahead and fire it up. You guys can hear how it sounds real quick. And of course, if you guys are familiar with the way the Supra sounds, this sounds exactly like it, because remember, it's a BMW engine with a BMW Sport Active exhaust. It's phenomenal. Now, looking at the cargo area, this is where you think it's going to be really small. However, this Supra actually got a much bigger trunk versus the previous generation. It measures around 9.9 cubic feet. That's only a smidge smaller than the trunk in the Toyota Supra. And it's also a little bit smaller, of course, versus a Porsche Boxster, because the Porsche also has a trunk in the front of the vehicle, obviously, but you do have a pretty good amount of space because this is pretty deep. There's actually a little pass-through that you can pass longer items into the cabin area, so you can carry longer items. But still, 9.9 is pretty usable, especially for a drop-top convertible. Keep in mind something like a Mazda Miata, which technically doesn't compete with this, but it's a class below, only offers about half that storage space. And the beauty thing about that soft top is it doesn't actually take up space in the trunk when you do have the top up or down. So obviously the exterior of the current Z4 is still a beautiful proposition, but let's go ahead and take a look at the interior of this car, which also got pretty minimalistic amount of changes considering this is supposed to be a refresh model. Let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current BMW key fob, although technically it's not. They have a newer fob in their electric models like the iX, but I appreciate this BMW Smart Access key. It has your usual buttons for unlock, lock, you have your open up the trunk, panic function. It also includes remote start. If I tap the BMW logo 3 times in sequence, the premium package rolls in the remote start, which you can see took a second, but it flashes the lights, the engine starts up. You can also do that through the BMW app if you have that access through your smartphone as well. And I believe BMW also offers a digital key function as well. So it's nice to see all those modern features on a German car. You typically don't find that on some German cars like remote start. Now, in terms of the door handle, you can see it's a traditional door handle, not like some of the pop-out handles you see in some other BMW products. And this car also has a auto walk-away lock and approach feature. I have the approach turned off right now, but if I walk away from the vehicle, the doors will lock. And then if I approach it with it turned on, the doors will also unlock. When I touch the door handle, you can see the mirrors will fold back out, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, my tester has a beautiful interior color called Magma. This is the genuine leather interior that's magma red color. This is kind of like, again, lava colored. It's almost orangey red. It goes great with this frozen gray exterior paint job. This is an extra $1,500 if you guys want this. The seats themselves, they are heated but not ventilated. I'm sad to say BMW does not offer cooled seats on this car, which on a hot summer day, it would be nice if it offered cooled seats and it offered like some kind of an air conditioning vent that blew cold air on your neck. That's something I haven't seen on other vehicles, sports cars yet, but you can see the seats they adjust in, I believe, 14 different ways for the driver. You also have 2-person memory. These seats are very comfortable and supportive. They just would be perfect if they offered a cool function. Now, in terms of the door panel, you can see you have a Sensitech wrapped faux leather material with the contrasting stitching here where you'd rest your elbows. Window controls, they feel pretty high quality. They're one touch up, down for both the windows. My tester also has the 12-speaker Harman Kardon stereo, which if you guys are an audiophile, I recommend it, although you really want to be listening to that engine more. It has a great sound, and then there's some padded area materials down here with a little bit of storage. So decent storage for a convertible sports car, which is, again, a nice surprise. Now, getting inside, this is a really low step-in height, so if you guys aren't quite as limber, you're going to have trouble getting in and out of this vehicle, at least initially. As I get in and shut the door has a solid sounding thunk, which is great because typically with convertibles you have to deal with some kind of cowl shake, and you don't really have to deal with that here, which is nice. Now, to get out of remote start mode, you basically just put your foot on the brake, push the start stop button with the key in here. It'll shut off the car if you don't have the key. And then you can see, I love the fact that BMW has restrained from putting their new iDrive 8 infotainment system in here. Now, there are some benefits to iDrive 8, specifically the new larger screens. This is a 10.25-inch display here in the center that's a touchscreen. As you can see, it also includes wireless Apple CarPlay, which is nice. And then you have a 12-inch display here in the instrument panel. Now that is slightly customizable, but I do prefer the newer iDrive 8 with its graphics and how much faster it is. Although the iDrive 7 still works fine, and I love the fact that you still have hard buttons here for the dual zone climate. You can see your heated seat controls are there. Your heated steering wheel controls are over here. The steering wheel itself is the nice thick M Sport steering wheel, which has a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment. Good amount of adjustability and range. You can get comfortable in this car. You have paddles on the wheel, although I wish the paddles were actually made of metal. The back just has plastic, although I think the front is actually metal, so that's nice. It would be nice to also see a flat bottom wheel, but this wheel is really thick. It has nice 9-3 grips, and the horn, unlike the Supra, doesn't sound puny like it belongs in a Toyota Corolla. That has a nice sounding horn that matches the size of this vehicle. Now you can see heads-up displays included with the premium package that my tester has. You can also see the Sensitech wrap dash is an extra $350, which I would recommend. It makes the interior feel a little bit more upscale. And then over here you can see you have your actual buttons for your dual zone climate control. You have buttons for your radio controls, an actual volume knob. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your backup camera with trajectory. It has front and rear parking sensors, but no 360 camera. This car does have the backup assistance, which is nice, although I'm surprised it doesn't have a full 360 camera. You don't really need that, of course, in a convertible. You can still see out of this car pretty well. It's also a very small car. You can see the wireless phone charging pad is here, and I'm proud to say that it works even with the case on my phone. My iPhone 14 Pro Max fits there, and it charges my phone, although it tends to overheat. These manufacturers really need to put like a cooling system on the actual phone itself so it doesn't overheat. That's a $500 extra charge. You have a USB port here. There's also a little door that closes if you want to hide your smartphone. This electronic shifter controls the 8-speed auto. Push the unlock button to push it forward to go to drive, kick it back to go into, or reverse, kick it back to go into drive, push that P button to go to park. There's still a rotary knob here, and then your drive mode selector is here. You can see there's several different drive modes. If I put it into sport, there's a standard, plus an individual mode, and then there's also a comfort and an eco pro mode if you guys are looking to get the best gas miles. This is where you're going to get over 30 mpg out on the highway, which is great. Now, in terms of the GPS, this car does have factory GPS, which the GPS itself from the factory works fine. It's quick and snappy and responsive. This is not the newest GPS system, again, you'll see in some other BMW products, but it gets the job done. Most of you will use the wireless CarPlay function anyways. The touch response is good. It's a good reach, but again, the screen is looking a little bit small, but that's still bigger by almost 2 inches compared to the Supra. I like the aluminum trim that you'll find over here with this kind of padded area over here. Open this up, you can see your cup holders are hidden in here, which is not a great place for them. Basically, if I want to have a cup in there, I have to, the passenger doesn't actually get an armrest, so kind of keep that in mind. But the cups themselves, the cup holders themselves, look like they can actually hold decent size, cups. And then you have a USB-C charging port in there. You have a little bit of storage back here with a little cargo net. This actually has a little trunk pass-through if you guys want to put a longer item. There's also another door in the trunk where you could pass through a longer item. There's a little wind deflector, wind buffeter net here, which is great when you guys want to have the top down. When you want to put the top down, you basically just push and hold this button down. You can see once you do that, the windows will go down automatically. Keep pushing and holding, and it takes around 10 seconds for the top to actually go down. Once it does go down, you can see It gives you that true open air feeling, which is wonderful. You can also put the windows up if you'd like to help reduce the wind buffeting or keep the air conditioning on. Again, this is where an air conditioning that blows cold air on my neck would be really nice. The glove compartment you can see is a bin style. It's stamped, it's on with felt. It has decent storage actually for a Roadster. So for those of you who are thinking this wouldn't be a great road trip car, you'd be surprised to see that it has good tech, a good amount of space inside, and good storage. Obviously no back seats, but for those of you who need just have you and your sweetie next to you, this is going to have plenty of space for the two of you and plenty of space for your luggage in the trunk. So it has been a couple years since I drove the all-new BMW Z4. Remember, this car is now in its 3rd generation, and it was a glorious return of this vehicle after a 3-year hiatus when BMW discontinued it back in 2016. For 2023, the refresh is so mild that it should practically still drive pretty much the same as the 2020 model that I drove about 3, almost 4 years ago. But this model here has the same powertrain, of course, as the Toyota Supra, which means we have that 382 horsepower, 3-liter twin power turbo, single turbo inline 6. It weighs about 100 pounds more than the Supra. BMW says this car should get to 60 in around 3.9 seconds. Remember, this car is rear-wheel drive only. It has a limited slip differential, and I want to see what this car can do 0 to 60 wise, because I actually never had a chance to test this vehicle out. Now, it does have launch control. You engage it by putting it into sport mode and then put it into a sport traction mode, and then you just floor the brake and the accelerator until it says launch. Ooh, God, okay. The back actually stepped out a bit, so I'll have to retry that later on, but I got 4.4 there. That's the problem with rear-wheel drive. This car has Continental Conti Sport 6 summer tires on it. Not my first choice. The Supra has, I believe, a Pilot Super Sport tire, which is not quite the newest tire. If you put an actually sticky set of tires on this vehicle, like a Pilot Sport 4S, I imagine it could do even better than that. But, you know, for a rear-wheel drive car, it doesn't launch hard. It's just if you're not used to launching a rear-wheel drive car where the back likes to step out a little bit, it can be a little concerning at first, but 4.4 there is pretty good. I'll see if I can get closer to that 3.9 time that BMW claims, because it requires, of course, a good launch, perhaps even a prepped surface. So just keep that in mind if you guys want the best acceleration of this vehicle. I still have it in Sport Plus traction. Let's see what we can get here. That was better. Ooh. 4.13 there, so that's more going slightly uphill. Remember, this car should be capable of that under 4-second time. We'll try it up again, or we'll try it again up ahead and see if we can get closer to that time. But what really surprises me about this vehicle is the consistency of the launch control. BMW's launch control typically doesn't work all that well. You always have to kind of do this special dance and like a button go around push to kind of get it to activate, but not so with this newer generation. And the other thing that impresses me about the Z4 is just how stiff the structure is. Remember, this is built on the cluster architecture. It's sharing a platform with the Supra, and it's on the latest BMW platform, and it feels tight. Even though this is a drop top, you don't feel any cowl shake, which is not something that you could say about some other convertibles that I've driven. Specifically like the new Mustang, although a Mustang doesn't really compete with this. The Porsche Boxster is a main competitor. The other thing that also really surprises me is how quiet the top is, or how quiet the interior is with the top up. Usually, like if you drive like a Mazda Miata, for example, you hear a ton of road and wind noise even when the top is up. Even if you have the retractable fastback hardtop on the Miata, it's still pretty loud. But this car, for a cloth soft top, BMW's done a really good job with the insulation. I'm going to take the roof off later on, and we'll see if we can get another, or see what it's like with the top down. But I have to admit, with the top up, it's a really nice place to spend time. Now, the BMW says the top can actually function at up to 30 miles an hour, 31 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and put the top down. I'm going to do that while I'm driving the vehicle. As you can see, the top is going down, and this is the whole point of a Roadster, is being able to do this. And it does it in about 10 seconds. So pretty quick, actually. It's not a slow top, and it's a good thing that BMW went to, again, the soft top, because it just made it for a much more simple interior, a simple top mechanism. It also reduced the weight. This car is about 100-ish pounds lighter than the previous generation. You kind of feel that in day-to-day driving. It's a nice driving vehicle. It feels like a more serious sports car, which is not something that I could say about the previous generation, which felt a little bit too much like a heavy GT car. The other thing you notice when the top is down, you just get more of that lovely inline-six burble. I love the sound of this engine. Very similar, of course, to the noise the Toyota Supra makes with the pops, the crackles, the burbles, the farts. I love the sound, and it's the reason why you want to spend the extra 13 grand for the inline-six just to get that noise, and you hear it even more with the top is down. But it's also really good in terms of the wind buffeting. It actually does a really good job of just kind of masking the noise when you have the roof up or down with the windows up, whatnot. But let's go ahead and see what we can get here. It's still in sport everything. Oh, 4.08 there. So I'll take that number, which is just a smidge slower than BMW's 3.9 second claim. Again, I'm getting a little bit of wheel spin. With some temperature in the tires, this car could potentially break the 4-second mark, but still, that is an impressive time for a car that is, remember, rear-wheel drive. It's got a limited slip diff, which it helps put the power down, but man, yes, there are faster electric vehicles, but none of them are gonna give you this kind of fun that you get out of this car. I mean, just put your foot down here in a turn. Oh, listen to those pops and those crackles. That's so awesome. Oh. Oh. Yes, I love it. I love the sound this thing makes. And that 8-speed auto, yes, BMW does not offer the manual in this car. I'm sad that they don't. There's rumors that they might, but you know what? This 8-speed ZF, oh, it's such a wonderful transmission. Amazing shift quality, quick shifts. It really responds very fast to the paddle shifters. Every time you blip the throttle, it just automatically will rev match right there. Oh, listen to that. Oh man, this is why I love internal combustion cars. You just don't get this out of an electric vehicle. I mean, compared to the last Porsche Boxster that I drove, this definitely sounds better. You can't beat a BMW inline-six. You just can't. It's like a gunshot. Oh my God, guys, I'm sorry. I can't help myself. This car just keeps farting and crackling and burbling from the exhaust, and it's so damn loud when the top is down. I just want to drive it like this all day long and just kind of tap the gas and listen to that sound. It's so amazing. But regardless, let me get it out of this mode here. If you want to drive this car comfortably, which you can put it into a comfort mode here, put the transmission into its drive mode. The exhaust gets quieter, it's got active exhaust. It also has adaptive dampers, so the dampers will get a little bit softer, so you get a good ride quality. Even though this car is on a 35 series tire, it actually rides pretty well. Now, if you hit some hard bumps, it is going to obviously create a shudder throughout the cabins because of these really low profile tires. You gotta avoid those potholes and whatnot, but it is easily drivable to go on the highway, to go on a longer distance cruise, to use as a daily. You can see out of the car obviously really well when the top is down. Now when the top was up, I could see out of it okay. The view out of the back was pretty, you know, restricted, but this car could use a digital camera rearview mirror. They don't offer that on this vehicle, but when the top is down, it's just glorious. You can see out of everything really well. You got the sun in your face, the wind in your hair. The engine stays nice and quiet in this mode. The steering gets a lot lighter. And in this mode, you can also get pretty good gas mileage. It's rated at 2331. In my week's worth of testing, when I wasn't trying to listen to the burbles and crackles, this car averaged around 25 miles to the gallon. 25 miles to the gallon in mixed driving is excellent. I took it on a long trip as well on the highway, and I got around 32 to 33 mpg on premium gas, of course. With the 13.7 gallon gas tank, you're looking at around a 400 mile range on a full tank. Now that's pretty good considering this is a small fuel tank. It's a 2-seat Roadster that is very, very fun to drive. Now keep in mind, if you drive it like an asshole all the time, you are going to get below 20 mpg. When I really was pushing this car and flogging it, it was only getting around 18 miles to the gallon. So depending on how disciplined you are with your right foot is going to, you know, determine what your mpg is going to be. But man, this car just, it's dual personality with the sounds and the crackles and the pops from the exhaust, the way it feels when you're driving it around town, when you're driving it on your favorite back road. It's just so much fun. It makes me love convertibles even more. I mean, convertibles are a dying breed of vehicle, but man, you gotta love BMW for keeping this segment alive and for giving this car a refresh. I mean, I would have liked to see BMW put their iDrive 8 in this vehicle, but iDrive 7 works perfectly fine. Really, if you guys are considering like a Miata and you have a little bit more money to spend, roughly twice the amount, the 4-cylinder could also be worth it, but for me as an enthusiast, I would happily pay the extra $12,000 extra for this wonderful straight six. So in today's car world where everybody seems to be driving a big imposing sport utility vehicle or some sort of crossover, getting behind the wheel of a drop-top convertible sports car is certainly a refreshing proposition, especially for me as an enthusiast. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Roadsters. As you guys know, I used to own a Mazda Miata for about 3-4 years, the ND, before I finally sold it. I miss that car terribly every day because there's just something so pure, so visceral, so mechanical about driving a vehicle with the top down, with the wind in your hair, the sun in your face, the noises it makes from that inline six. As you guys saw, 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds is plenty of performance. Sure, BMW could do a faster version, an actual Z4M with the 470 horsepower motor that you find in the M3, but it just simply would be overkill for this car because this vehicle at 3,500 pounds is extremely lightweight by modern car standards. It has handling that feels like a sports car as opposed to the previous generation, has a ride quality with those adaptive dampers that easily take it from a track vehicle to an easily dailyable GT car where you can drive this out on the highway. And in terms of the fuel efficiency, I was even impressed with the kind of range and gas miles this car would get if you drove the car more economically. Really, if you guys are looking to buy a vehicle like this is really in a class of its own because it's basically this car, a Chevrolet Corvette and a Porsche 718 Boxster. And really the Corvette's kind of in a different segment. You could also compare it to something like a Mazda Miata, which is still the cheapest roadster on the market, but the Miata is again a class below this in terms of size, in terms of capability, in terms of performance, and in terms of space. So the Z4 really is in an interesting position, and it's why I think BMW has decided to keep it, because even though sales haven't been great, BMW did around 1,500 of these last year. At their peak, they did just under 3,000 when this car first came out in 2019. I really hope that it continues to stay because when you want driving nirvana, there's just nothing better that you can get out of a roadster. Now, my particular tester here is the Z4 M40i, which means it's kind of an expensive proposition if you're thinking about just a 2-seater roadster in terms of practicality. This car starts at just over 66 grand. You could save about 13 grand if you guys go for the 4-cylinder, which starts at just over 53, but I'd say the 6-cylinder is worth easily the extra $12,000. My tester with the frozen gray paint, which is a matte color paint, that's $3,600. The premium package that it has, that's like an extra $3,000. The Harman Kardon stereo, the upgrade for the wheels, the upgraded interior, that magma red leather looks great with this frozen gray red. All in, this car comes to just over $76,500. So obviously 76 grand is a lot of money. Keep in mind, if you're looking at a Supra, it's platform mate, this car is going to be roughly about $20,000 more expensive at the high end with all the options. However, if you're looking at a Porsche Boxster, you're going to have to look at a Boxster S to compete with this vehicle, and that car starts at over $82,000. With options, the Porsche is easily over 95, almost 100 grand. So this car is about 20 to 30 grand less than the Porsche, and it starts, or a Chevrolet Corvette C8 convertible starts at around 75 grand. This car again tops out at around 75 grand. So there is still plenty of reasons to choose the BMW Z4. So my recommendation, if you guys want something that's different, you want to feel the wind in your hair, the sun in your face, be sure to put the latest BMW Z4 at the very top of your list. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2023 BMW Z4 M40i. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.